Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to my YouTube channel. I am your host, the Mighty Bjorn, and today for you I have a mighty game review of Warhammer Vermintide 2. This is actually one I've been meaning to do a review on for a while, but the game itself has kind of kept getting put on a back burner, mostly because I just wasn't getting around to playing it, but I finally have gotten around to playing it. So I'm going to dive on in here, talk a little bit about the game and things of that nature. Let's start off with the basics. The developer and the publisher is Fat Shark, which is also the same developer and publisher for Darktide. The engine is Autodesk Stainray. I've actually never heard of that one before, so that's a new engine for me. It was released for Windows March of 2018, Xbox One for July of 2018, PlayStation 4 for December 2018, and Xbox X Series December 2020. It looks like, I don't know, maybe they'll be doing a future update where they'll add it to maybe Nintendo Switch and PlayStation 5, but nothing right now on that. Now, this is set in the Warhammer universe. This is Warhammer Fantasy, not Warhammer 40K. I know a lot of people are, or quite a few people are at least used to seeing me doing reviews on various Warhammer 40K titles because I'm a Warhammer 40K guy, and I'm not really too into fantasy. I've never really got into Warhammer Fantasy. More of a Dungeons and Dragons guy when it comes to something like that. But I am vaguely familiar with Warhammer Fantasy. So basically, you have a pretty generic, honestly generic, medieval fantasy. It's considered a high fantasy setting. That being said, it's got elves, dwarves, things of that nature. Of course, there's this rat race, which is called Skaven, which is what we're going up against, as well as other races such as orcs and etc. Now, for the most part, you're going to be fighting against Skaven. However, there is some chaos as well. That being said, in general terms, it is a first-person hack and slash type game. Now, it does have range shooting type mechanics, but it's generally speaking, it's hack and slash. It is focused towards melee over anything else. Now, that being said, I feel the graphics are actually fine for a game for 2018. They're perfectly fine. It's, this game does not actually look bad at all, particularly on modern hardware. And it actually runs pretty good. With that being said, this is actually on the max graphics settings. The sounds I feel are perfectly fine. I don't feel like they're anything special, but everything sounds like it should. When I go to shoot off my black powder pistols, that's what they sound like. They sound like black powder pistols when you're hacking and slashing. That's what it sounds like, etc., etc. I wouldn't say there's anything fancy there, but there's nothing there that makes it disappointing either. Now, that being said, the music is actually, I feel, really good for this. Now, that being said, it's Jasper Kidd. So, yeah, he does pretty good game music. He's done music for various video games, including Darktide, as well as, I believe, both Vermintide games and some of the Assassin's Creed games and so on and so forth. So I would say he's a pretty known composer. Controls are really easy. Honestly, nothing too crazy there. It's really just a couple buttons on a keyboard to play the game. There's lots of various tasks to do. There's tasking the different missions, such as killing leaders, taking control of certain points. There's also secondary tasks, such as finding books. I can't remember I think they're called Grimorums. And then, of course, there's also daily tasks and things of that nature as well, such as kill 50 Skaven, things of that nature. Now, there's 5 different player characters, each with 4 different classes, so there's a lot of variety. Now, I am playing just the generic Witch Hunter, but as you level up, you can essentially cross-class, if you will, into something else. So I could actually cross-class into being a Bounty Hunter, which is the second class that you can unlock for the Witch Hunter. Now, that being said, too, you don't lose levels. So if I'm a level 20 with my Witch Hunter, I'm also a level 20 if I switch over to being a bounty hunter. So nothing, I think that's actually pretty good there. And each class gives a little bit of variation to how the character plays and what's the best way to load the character out. The progression system I feel is very good. Nothing too horrible there. The XP system isn't bad either. You know, you can run a couple missions, gain a couple levels, etc., etc. Now, as you go through, of course, it's going to get more and more grindy, but that's as you start reaching the higher levels. The gameplay itself is really simple, straightforward, nothing surprised there, and honestly, nothing really disappointing either for being a more simplified co-op style gameplay. The melee I feel is actually really good in general. Everything feels good. The way the enemy's response to the different attacks. You know, when I go using my flail, that's what it feels like I'm bashing the hell out of them with a flail. It's nothing, it's not like they're just shrugging off the hits. Now, some of the bigger bad guys will shrug off the hits, but, they're bigger bad guys. So, yeah, there's that. The range combat's fine. I don't feel it's actually anything special, but really you don't do much of range combat either. So while I'm not going to say that it's a hallmark of this game, it's not a letdown either. It's just kind of one of those things you just really don't do that much of it. I didn't see any major glitches in the game either. Nothing game breaking. I didn't have any issues running the game. I had no game crashes. The FPS was pretty stable, even when there was a lot of enemies. So really, just no complaints there. Now, that being said, I can see where the game is definitely kind of repetitive. It's generally speaking, you're doing the same thing over and over again, which is running around the map, finding bad guys, hacking and slashing bad guys, moving on. And that's generally the gameplay loop. There's nothing really super special about the gameplay loop. So, yeah, there's that. And honestly, the loot is kind of whatever. I don't feel the loot was anything super awesome, to be honest. Now, I am a lower level character, so yeah, maybe there was better loot to be had. And at times there was some. I did get some pretty good loot drops, but for the most part, it was nothing I would really brag about. Now, there is a lot of DLCs to this game. I'm not going to really cover the DLCs. I don't have the DLCs. That being said, from what I can see, you really don't need the DLCs. Now, the DLCs does add some new missions and does add some new classes for the characters and some new items, etc. But generally speaking, if you have just the core game, which is all I have, that's perfectly fine too. And you can also play with people that does have the DLCs. So that's not a big deal there. Even actually, from what I understand, I can even get into the DLC missions with my buddies. It's just any DLC items I really can't use. And I can't, if I understand it correctly, I can't queue up for those DLC missions personally. So with all that being said, yeah, this game will keep your hands full. And honestly, I did actually have quite a bit of fun playing it. It is $30 though. It's not bad for $30. But honestly, I think for probably the average person, it would just be better to get it on sale or to even just go out there and getting Darktide, because Darktide's the newer game. And in general terms, this and Darktide's the same game. It's just one is 40K and one is Warhammer Fantasy. So, yeah, there's that. Anyway, folks, I don't think it's bad. I can recommend it. It's a good game. I had fun. Anyway, folks, hopefully you all enjoyed the review here of Warhammer Vermintide 2. Thanks for tuning in, and have yourself a wonderful day.